So this is my first Silent Hill game, the first one I've ever played. Of course, I'm familiar with the universe and the lore, and I've seen the movies and played the Dead by Daylight character, and this lore is pretty famous. I feel like a lot of people are aware of Silent Hill. That said, I had never played one, and this looked like a really good opportunity to finally get into the Silent Hill universe. What's up, Dusk here, and I'll be sharing some of my favorite moments and some of my thoughts on the game as a new to Silent Hill player. I want to talk about the ending I got. I got the in water ending. I wasn't following a guide or anything like that. I just kind of like fumbled my way into it, which I hear can be kind of a hard ending to get. I've got a few ideas about how I may have gotten it.
James.
But we'll get to that. First, I want to talk about some of my favorite moments. Oh, Mannequin. The first one is probably on a lot of people's lists. I don't know if the original Silent Hill had a moment like this, but this one was really, really well crafted. Not only do you get the flashlight, you get a fun jump scare, but it's a great way to introduce the fact that the game does have a stealth enemy. It was just on top of like the mannequins, because this mob also kind of acts like a mannequin sometimes. Like, they just laid it on really thick here, and it was super cool. Oh my god. There's also the dress, but we'll talk more about that later. Oh, you're reaching through like the longest. Here's another really cool thing that I didn't see coming. It's almost a reverse jump scare. You're like reaching through the bars and you're just expecting some kind of monster to grab your hand, and something opposite happens. It was, a harmless child, which is like a relief from the tension, but at the same time, it's a little shocking because you're like, this place is horrific. What's a kid doing running around here? Just a really, really interesting moment. Okay, so not this scene specifically, but all these moments in Silent Hill where it just shows you something creepy. And they do this a lot. Rather than trying to do like one over the top moment, they just constantly layer the game in these creepy moments on top of like the creepy atmosphere and music and sounds. And honestly, I think it's more effective this way. Okay, I think this might be my favorite moment in the entire game right here. You see Pyramid Head come up, and he makes these weird movements, but later you realize he's swinging his sword. We just can't see the sword, and it doesn't seem to be affecting us, and that seems to confuse Pyramid Head. But like what we see here first are just like some distorted versions of what actually happened. We don't know or don't realize what's happening. And then, he goes for the gunshots, and it almost looks like there's this weird delayed reaction as well. Like, things have to, like, jump through time, or there's some kind of delay. I don't know what's going on. But watch here, I'll overlay the moment with the reaction with the gunshots, and it looks like it lines up a little bit, all until the third shot where he suddenly kind of snaps out of it and decides, like, maybe he can't see you anymore. Maybe the act of fighting back increased the distance between James and Pyramid Head, like where they can interact even less because James is fighting back. And so then maybe Pyramid Head can't even see him anymore. So he just sort of snaps out of it and walks away. I'm not really sure, but maybe some of you OG Silent Hill players maybe understand a little bit more about this. Let me know in the comments section, because like it's really, really cool sequence. So he did walk up to this, and he did see us in there, and he took a whack at us, but we weren't in his world, so it couldn't hurt us.
Mary?
The more I learned about all the Silent Hill characters, the more interesting Maria became. At first, I didn't really understand who everybody was. I thought Laura and who was the other one? Angela, I think, were related to James. I thought those were his daughters and that maybe he couldn't remember or something. But of course, that's not true. These are all real people. They're all different and they have their own stories, except for Maria. She's actually tied directly to James, and unlike the others, does not appear to be a real person. This got drove home more later as we realized Maria couldn't die, and she even started appearing a little bit more robotic and fake, which gave me some theories about who Maria actually was. And from what I understand, the Silent Hill community doesn't have a solid consensus on Maria's identity. I don't know if that's true or not. Correct me in the comments section if I'm wrong. But to me, I think Maria represents who James wishes Mary was. Someone who wasn't sick anymore and was maybe a little bit more exciting. And so in a way, it was him turning his back on Mary. And we got a glimpse of this too. Because, from listening to Mary talk, we know that James didn't go to the hospital that much, right? Which means he was preoccupied with, a fantasy version of Mary. We kind of see that. I said I was going to talk about the mannequin earlier, right? There's a mannequin that we run into with a flashlight. It has Mary's dress on it. So we can see that that might be something that James has been doing, carrying around Mary's dress. And just trying not to acknowledge that his actual wife was sick and dying. A lot of denial here. And of course, you can't not mention the creepy nurses. And last, but definitely not least, the Silent Hill boss fights. Now, mechanically, these boss fights aren't anything special or anything to write home about. It's more about the imagery and the symbolism, which is what everything in Silent Hill is about. So the bosses very much fit in with what Silent Hill is. My two favorite fights are Eddie, because Eddie does actually have some different mechanics to his fight that makes him kind of fun. But I think Maria wins out, though, just because the imagery was so cool. Even just the very start where she goes to like this, almost evil version of herself, but then she gets turned upside down and put in the cage. And it's such a crazy moment. James is really conflicted here because now, once he tries to acknowledge that Maria is not real, but by doing so, now he's turning his back on her, which is also another version of Mary. So in a way, he's turning his back on Mary twice. Yeah, and just cool looking character design. Just Maria, the boss, just from a character design standpoint, looks super cool. So I really liked the final fight. It was just super cool. Okay, now let's talk about how I got the in-water ending, because I got it by accident, without looking up guides, and without even realizing that this game had multiple endings, right? Of course, after I got the ending, and after, chat was like, wow, that's a hard-to-get ending, I was like, oh, I've got to look these up. Now, when I looked it up, it gave the criteria for getting the ending. It was like, don't use heals all that much. But I don't think that's accurate because I used the crap out of heals. I healed all the time. But I think what I did is I had a low amount of deaths. I only had 4. It took me 20 hours, but I only had 4 deaths. I think you need to ignore as many of the characters as possible, so don't, investigate... was it Abigail? No, Angela. You don't investigate Angela's knife. You don't inspect or investigate anything from any of the other characters, but do investigate Mary's dress, because that's who we're supposed to be engaging with. You pick the rusty egg door, and then at the very end, I think Maria is going to probably try to talk a little bit, but if you just shoot her in the face and cut her off so that she can't talk, I think that's kind of like the final nail in the coffin. I think that's what gets it. Now let's take a look at the in-water ending. And of course, if you liked the video, don't forget to throw a like.
Most of all, you.
Maybe you could have played nice with her, but
I miss
She made me
you
sweat
so
too much.
I tried. I really did, but I can't. I just can't go on without you. I can't forgive myself for what I've done.
GG.
I know this isn't what you would want. But I guess it doesn't matter anymore. You're not here. Are you?
Yep. There's nobody back there. They're really playing with one of the theories, and I love it. I think they kind of they've been pretty good about,
In my
like, they just kind of
restless
come out and say
dreams,
stuff.
I see that town. Silent Hill.
He just drove off that bridge.
You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you to come and see me. But you never do. So, I wait. Wrapped in my cocoon of pain and loneliness. I know, I've done a terrible thing to you. I wish I could change that, but I can't. I feel so pathetic and ugly laying here. Every day I stare up at the cracks in the ceiling, and all I can think about is how unfair it is. The doctor came today. Told me I could go home for a short stay. It's not that I'm getting better. It's just that this could be my last chance. Even so, I'm glad to be coming home. I missed you so much. But I'm afraid, James.
And isn't there a Silent Hill called Homecoming?
I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. Every time you come to see me, I can tell how hard it is on you. I don't know if you hate me or pity me. Maybe I just disgust you. I'm so sorry. When I first learned I was gonna die, I couldn't accept it. I was so angry. I struck out at everyone I loved.
Oh, she was in the backseat the whole
Especially
game.
you.
Okay, they made a nod to it then.
And that's why I understand if you hate me. But I want you to know, I will always love you. Even though our life together had to end like this, I still wouldn't trade it for the world. Well, this letter has gone on too long, so I'll say goodbye. I told the nurse to give this to you after I'm gone. Which means that as you're reading this, I'm already dead. But that's okay. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I just hope the pain will end soon. So that you remember me for who I was. And not what the disease made me. I want you to go on. I want you to live. For yourself. And for others.
Well, that didn't happen.
Like you did for me. James. You made me happy.
Only way out. Reach the in water ending.